Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live. The first semi-final of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup will be played tomorrow, that is 30th of March, between Australia and West Indies. The match will be played at the Basin Reserve in Wellington and it will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So you can catch all the live action for the Australia-West Indies match on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. Now, while Australia cruised their way to the semi-finals of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup with 7 straight wins in the league stage of the World Cup, West Indies, on the other hand, qualified for the semi-finals on 27th of March when the last league stage match was played between India and South Africa. So South Africa beat India by 3 wickets in that match, and with that loss, India made way for West Indies in the semi-finals. Now, to talk more about the riveting contest between Australia and West Indies, which is going to be a part of the first semi-final of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup, I have with me Krisania Young, Dhanush Lavanya, and Urvi Shah. So, Krisania Young is a Caribbean cricket writer, cricket analyst, and chief editor at Mostly Cricket. Dhanush Lavanya is a content writer at Female Cricket, and Urvi Shah is a mental health facilitator and an avid cricket writer. So, I welcome all of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Krisania, I'm sure that you must be pretty happy that West Indies have qualified for the semi-finals. They'll be taking on Australia tomorrow, that is 30th of March. However, amidst the happiness, there was a sad news that came West Indies' way when it was announced that Affy Fletcher has tested positive for COVID-19 and she will not be a part of the first semi-final. So, how big a blow is that going to be for West Indies?
Huge, because we've always and lead selector Anne Brown, she was so happy to get Afi back because she adds a bit of diversity to the we have so many off spinners and she's the only leg spinner. We can't even see one coming through the ranks. So it would be a big blow, and how she performed coming into the team. She was a very huge part. She played a very huge role in that win against Bangladesh. She took 3 wickets. She bowled well. She took a wicket in the last match against Pakistan as well, and she's batted very well down in the lower order, propelling us to the West Indies, that is, to a few competitive scores. So not only the bowling department will suffer the blow, but what she adds in the lower order as well. But that being said, this West Indies bowling unit, they've been priding themselves on being complete. One one each, just picking up the slack for each other, one and hand washing the other. So they won't dwell too much on this. They will still back themselves. It's a huge blow, but there's nothing that can be done about it. So they just have to move forward.
Indeed, missing out Effie Fletcher is going to be a big deal for West Indies. But on the other hand, we have another sad news that Ellis Perry would be missing out tomorrow in the semi-final against West Indies from Australia. Dhanush, I would like to know from you, how big of a blow is it going to be that Australia is going to miss Ellis Perry, who had also been a key bowler, picking up 3 wickets against West Indies when they played in the group stage?
Yeah, definitely. Alessi Perry is one of the most impactful players in the Australian unit for last 15 years since she has been the part of the squad, and over the years she has become that leader kind of a thing who is most respected in the side in a way. So really is a big impact for sure. But Australia have good history of playing without Alessi Perry. If I'm not wrong, they won the 2020 T20 World Cup at home against India in the finals, and LSE Perry wasn't there in the semi-final or the final. So definitely they know how to play without LSE Perry, and in this World Cup, if even if you remove her, they still have a very good squad. And Darcy Brown is what who is going to replace her. So basically, the squad that played against Pakistan on the other day in the last group match for Australia, that is going to be continuing in the semi-final as well. So I don't feel there won't be much impact because this team as a whole in this World Cup, they have played as a team unit. Everyone has contributed in every single fashion. The jobs that they have been given, they have performed to their fullest. The way the openers have batted, Rachel Haynes has been exceptionally good. Meg Lanning has been one of the players of the tournament alongside with Laura Woolford. And Beth Mooney has done her job of a finisher in a way where she has finished a couple of games for the side, and she's one of the most consistent players as well. And like that, with Thalia McGrath, Ashley Gardner, all these players coming in the in the later stages of the game, lower down the order, there is not much of a issue. Is what I feel. Australia won't miss much of Ellis Perry because they have other players to replace her. And in the bowling as well, Darcy Brown has been really good in this tournament, and whenever she has got the opportunity, she has been really good. So I feel that tomorrow, compared to Afi Fletcher, Ellis Perry won't matter much for Australia.
Absolutely. I think, as Dhanush has mentioned, that probably Australia has been one of the best all-round sides in this World Cup, as there have been different match winners through the tournament so far for Australia. But now moving on to you, Chrisania, Australia and West Indies, when they played last in the league stage, West Indies were bundled out cheaply for 131, and then Australia chased down the target with 7 wickets in hand. So apart from the Australia match, I think West Indies had a batting collapse in other two matches against Bangladesh and of course against India. So how do you think will West Indies address this issue in case they have a batting collapse tomorrow against Australia?
Well, it's unfortunate because there was a mini collapse against England. They recovered, they won. They had a collapse against Australia. There was a collapse against, who next was it, Bangladesh. There was a collapse against Pakistan because of, even in the reduced game, and then there was the South Africa game where the West Indies did not bat. So they find themselves, unfortunately, in the same position that they found themselves heading into the Pakistan game because they had 2 games remaining. They suffered 3 consecutive collapses. They were looking to put things right, but then the game against Pakistan was reduced to 20 overs. Okay, that's fine. They're going against South Africa. They're looking to bat again. The game again was reduced to 26 overs, was it? And then they did not bat any at all. So things, tactics, strategies, players who they were hoping to have a look at in these last 2 games, they did not get the opportunity. So the position that the West Indies find themselves in is a rather unfortunate one because these last 2 games that they did not get to play, and I think Taylor, I had the opportunity to ask her a question in the press conference yesterday evening, and I asked her about it. They've not played for so long, but they've not played a one-day international game, bowling 50 overs or batting 50 overs for such a long time. I can say I hope it won't affect them, but I think it will, but there's a balance to be struck because DeAndre Dutton was saying after the South Africa game, even though it wasn't completed, that they've been traveling so much. And she would attribute some of the up and down performances to traveling and moving around. So they would have gotten the opportunity to rest in Wellington for a while, but they've not played a one-day international game for so long. And this semi-finals, if the weather holds, it will be they will be required to play 100 overs. So it will be difficult for them.
Yeah, I would like to continue on what Chrisania you have mentioned about building partnership and how they haven't been getting full overs to actually go out there and play. So, considering it's semi-final tomorrow, what do you think? How important would Doughton and Matthews partnership be to start off with? Like that can actually form a base for the other batters coming in next to go out and play freely.
I was I was looking at the situation and I was thinking that we've not seen a complete performance from the batting unit. They had won the West Indies. It was the perfect template against New Zealand. The first game of the tournament against England, they suffered a mini collapse, but Dutton and Matthews started well. Then Dutton went, Taylor went, Matthews went, and then it was Nation and Campbell who did the rebuild. You'd accept that because another pair holding up what the first pair did. You'd accept that as teamwork. Since then, we've not seen teamwork in the batting unit for the West Indies, which is unfortunate, which is why I'm saying that things that they would have wanted to look at. Maybe the coaching staff was saying it can't be Matthews and Dutton all the time. Come to the party. They would have been looking to do that against Pakistan, against South Africa, but they were deprived of the opportunity. They can't do anything about it, but it is a thing, it is a factor. These are 2 games that they did not get to play. They did not get to look at players. If you look at Rashada Williams. So the middle order is not firing. Taylor is not firing. Knight is not firing. So the West Indies, they made the substitution. They brought in Rashada Williams for a night against Bangladesh. She did not play well. But then what happened against Pakistan? Rashada, I think, would have been in the 11, but the game was reduced to 20 overs. She's not a fast scorer. So Knight came into the side. So Rashada, Williams, and Knight came back into the team for South Africa. What happened again? The West Indies did not bat again. So they would have been looking to say others need to come to the party, not just the openers, not just the lower middle order, but the middle order, number 3 and number 4. But they were deprived of the opportunity. So all they can do, like I've said before, they find themselves in the same situation that they did heading into the Pakistan game.
Yes, absolutely. I think, Krisania, as you have rightly mentioned, that the West Indian batters have been devoid of opportunities in the recent past. I think they had their last complete match, if we can say that. Again, it was a rain-reduced affair on 21st of March against Bangladesh. But it has been good 10 days that West Indies have not played a complete one-day match. So now moving on to you, Dhanush, as you are talking about West Indies batting. On the other hand, we have the Australian batting that have looked in very good touch. Captain McLanning, of course, leading from the front with more than 350 runs in the tournament so far. And but if we look at McLanning against West Indies in the group stage, she unfortunately got out for a duck. And in the last match against Bangladesh, again she was out for a duck thanks to Salma Khatun. Now West Indies, if they play Anisa Mohammed tomorrow, they will have three off spinners in Ramharak, Anisa Mohammed, and of course Haley Mathis. So do you think that will be playing on McLanning's mind tomorrow?
I don't think so. It won't be much of an impact because McLennan is a champion player. She knows how to play against bowlers. Yeah, definitely the history records will say she got out for a duck in the league stage match, but the way she has been playing in this tournament, and she has been one of the biggest positives for them. She has been one of the best players of this generation in a way, right? So I don't think so. You can't just put that fact into perspective because I don't feel it won't play much. Tomorrow, since it's being a semi-final game, she will be more into the match. She will be more focused in the game than compared to other league stages. They have done really well in this tournament. They have been a team unit altogether. So I don't think so. There is that feel of like uncertainty against facing the West Indies bowlers, but she has the capacity to score against them, and she will do that is what I feel. And even if she doesn't, there are other batters that West Indies have to be concerned about.
Definitely, West Indies definitely have a lot to be concerned about when it comes to Australia top order specifically. Which brings me to the question here, Krisania. We were talking about Meg Lenning, but there is someone in the opening, Elisa Healy, who is very difficult to keep quiet when it's a challenging situation like a semi-final or a final, and she can go all guns blazing. So, what should West Indies plan be specifically for Elisa Healy and Rachel Haynes in the opening tomorrow?
Well, the West Indies, they excuse me, one moment. So the West Indies, they've set plans how many games now, and then it just goes out the window because the batting is not coming to the party. Because they want to open with Connell and Henry, but then they don't score any runs, and they just have to get Haley Matthews in as soon as possible. So we're speaking all things being equal now, and say they get runs on the board, or they are the ones who are having a bowl first up. I think they revert to what they were doing earlier in the tournament. I've been crying out for them to go attacking lines and lengths against this batting lineup. I think they go wide again and ask them to chase it and set the fields. But then they will sacrifice the wicket taking in the power play just to stifle them and strangle them 4 runs. I think that's what they will do. When you look at Meg Lanning as well, she's been, whether she's set or unset, she does tend to fall for that line, that fourth or fifth stump line, chasing it, whether slashing to point or just giving an opportunity to first or second slip. So I think they will put it wide and ask them to chase it.
So I think though we may see the head-to-head statistics of these two teams, they are pretty much in favor of Australia as they have won 13 out of the 14 games. West Indies, of course, winning one. Also in the World Cup, the record has not been that great. 7 matches they have played, six have been won by Australia, one by West Indies. But if we take some cues from the past, 2016 T20 World Cup, West Indies beat Australia in the finals. And of course, in the 2013, during the Super Six stage, West Indies did beat Australia. So I'm sure that this team has the capacity to beat Australia. So, Krisania, do you think that West Indies can cause an upset? I don't know whether this upset word you will like or not, but do you think West Indies can cause an upset to Australia tomorrow?
Well, because we have I don't know if you have this state as well, but the ball is round, so anything can happen. But obviously, Australia are huge favorites. I would say that if anything, because the bowling for the West Indies has been champion through and through. If anything, they will need runs. If they are chasing, they will need runs. If they're batting first, they would need runs. That's just the thing. The batting has to come to the party. There is no defending 150 or 180 against this unit. There's no, well, I won't say recovering from a collapse, but if it's one thing that the West Indies need, it's runs on the board, whether chasing or setting. And for that, I think Taylor would need to come to the party. When I look back at the West Indies and their batting throughout this tournament, realize the role that Taylor has. What's her average against spin? Is it 60? And each, each individual will have a role in the team. And she's not done so well. So when you look at the struggles of the West Indies, not to blame, but you would attribute some of it to her poor form. So if there was ever a time for her to stand up like the player she is, a legend of the game, it would be now. So runs on the board will be important for the West Indies if they are to cause an upset.
Definitely, but I was just checking the weather for Wellington for the match, and unfortunately, it says that there is going to be a bit of showers here and there. Again, not playing in favor of West Indies. So, Danush, I would like to ask you that the pitch may be more in favor of the Pacers tomorrow, and knowing Australia is a pace heavy side, how much of an advantage will it be for Australia if the weather plays its role?
If you take off the weather conditions and all this stuff, if you take how Australia have played this World Cup, they have played 4 of their 7 matches in Wellington. So they have a very good record again in that particular condition. They won all the 4 games. The match they played against West Indies, where they bundled them out for 132, that was their first match in Wellington, if I'm not wrong, in this World Cup. So I feel that if you bar the weather conditions, and like how Crisania said, Australia are going to be big favorites in tomorrow's game. It's just that if the weather conditions come into play, I feel that the West Indies players have to be careful and handle themselves well, because Australian players pretty much know the conditions better than West Indies. So I feel that the fast bowlers of Australia will be utilizing the conditions to their best. The swing will be there. Since it's overcast conditions, there will be a lot of wind out there, and the temperature is also nearly like 12 or 14 degrees. So I feel the fast bowlers will play a huge impact, and that is why I feel Darcy Brown is going to be a key player to watch out from tomorrow's game, because even though there is Megan Strutt, who is one of the world's best fast bowlers in today's generation, but Darcy Brown has been really impressive in this World Cup. So the way she is bowling her line and lengths, the way she attacks the batters and makes them go for a drive, or gets that wicket by making them by bowling the same deliveries repeatedly. I feel like she's the fast bowler that I feel will be having a huge impact tomorrow. And and overall, I feel that tomorrow's game, West Indies have a big task out there. If they are able to replicate the performance that they had in the very first game, which I personally feel as the perfect game that they had against New Zealand in the tournament opener, if they are able to bat in that way, if they are able to bowl in that way, they will pose some competition for Australia in the semifinals.
Absolutely. So, just as Dhanush spoke about Australia's pace battery, we all know that West Indies also have some incredible fast bowlers in their ranks, like Shamilia Connell, of course, Chanel Henry, who broke the shoulder of Rachel Haynes' bat the other day, and of course, Shakira Selman is there in the ranks. So, Krisania, do you think the West Indian fast bowlers can give the Australian batters a run for their money tomorrow, given the fact that it is going
Yes,
to be conditions that will suit them?
yes. Daniel said that the West Indies would have to be on their A game if the weather comes into play. But I think it just depends on the toss. whoever bats first would need to be on top of their game if the weather comes into play, because both fast bowling units are very good when it comes to swinging the ball. Did you see the West Indies against South Africa? Were you paying attention? So it will, a lot will depend on the toss. If the rain comes into play, hope the West Indies win the toss, put the Australians in, utilize Henry, Connell. Maybe we see Selman coming into the team, and hopefully it just dries out later on, and they will have an advantage batting on a better pitch, batting in better conditions than the opposition did earlier.
Definitely, a lot is going to be dependent on the toss tomorrow. So, which brings me to my question, Danush. Australia, we know, has been on a winning streak here, right? 7 out of 7. But we all know that even though everyone sees it as a team who does not lose, there are areas of concern and areas of weakness that can be exploited tomorrow. So, which is that one particular area you feel that for Australia, if exploited tomorrow, can cost them the game?
I don't feel as a anything as a negative in their team, because they have been perfect in a manner in this whole World Cup, and there isn't a single game where you felt like they were on the verge of losing, or there was any threat of them losing the game. So that has been the dominance of theirs. Certainly, if you go down and break down the performances of the team, definitely you expect a lot from Thalia McGrath, because she is a great all rounder with a lot of potential. She has played almost all the games in this tournament, if I'm not wrong, and unfortunately, she hasn't been that impactful. So, if you say any weakness, I feel that she is a player who has to step up in tomorrow's match. But apart from that, the batting has been really good. And also, one more thing to bring in is Ali Sahiri. She dropped off from number 1 to number 5 today in the ICC rankings because of the lack of big scores in this tournament. Because she has got a number of good starts, but she wasn't able to convert that into big numbers. If I'm not wrong, she just scored two 50s in the league stage of the 7 games. So she's also one player whom I am looking forward tomorrow to step up and showcase her true potential, because the rest of the side has been really good. Thalia McGrath and Ali Sahiri are the two players whom I feel are going to be important tomorrow's game. If they're able to step up and win this game for Australia, then no one can stop them in the finals.
So, according to Dhanush, if Elisa Healy and Talia McGrath could be the players to watch out for from Australia, so Krisania, according to you, who could be the two players that you will be looking for if they want to win the game for West Indies tomorrow against Australia?
I'm going to put it on the captain's shoulder. I'm going to lay it on her. She's going to need to lead from the front. We've played 7 games. She's not really. Well, she had a half century against Australia, and she did play a big role in that 2 points against Bangladesh that propelled them into a strong position to qualify for the semi-finals with the ball with those 3 wickets and that final over. I'm hoping she takes confidence from that, but I'm putting it on her with her batting. The time is now. I don't think there's been ever so many eyes from the Caribbean on a Women's World Cup tournament, especially because the West Indies won those first 2 games against those big oppositions. This has been probably one of the best Women's World Cup. It's been so competitive. People are looking on. Stephanie Taylor is not just the greatest player from the West Indies or in this team. She walks among the greatest in world cricket, in women's history. If there was ever a time, it's now. The Australians are going to come with spin. Great. She's a great player of spin. They have very good pace bowling attack. She's also what she averaging mid 40s against pace and then 60s against spin. If there was ever a time, this is the only remaining guaranteed game in the World Cup for the West Indies. Others have done it with the bat. It's your turn. So I would go, I'm looking at Stephanie Taylor to step up. Another player, I would probably go Selman, probably because she's been in and out of the team in these latter stages. And if we speak about conditions, not only Henry or Connell, if we talk about someone who can come in to continue the movement of the ball, to keep on the pressure, I would think Shakira Selman. I know Alia Alain has been very good as first change, but if we go back to experience, I'm going to just bring in Selman to complement what I think Henry and Connell will be asked to do with the new ball to keep the pressure on if they can keep Australia quiet. So I think this should be a standout match for Shakira Selman.
Okay. So Chrisania says Stephanie Taylor and Shakira Selman could be the players to watch out for. And Dhanush, of course, has mentioned Elisa Healy and Talia McGrath. So Dhanush, if I have to ask you, what could be the key matchups that you're looking at from tomorrow's game?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be looking to see how Haley Matthews plays against the spin of ASHLEIGH Gardner and Jess Jonathan, because those two, if you see the whole West Indies team in this World Cup, haven't been that good against spin. On an average, every single game they lose. If how many wickets ever they lose, three of those wickets in an average is against spinners. So I feel that they have to be a lot more cautious against the spinners and Jonathan, who is number two in the ICC rankings, and ASHLEIGH Gardner, who has been more of a bowling all rounder in this World Cup, even though she is really good batter. So I feel that Haley Matthews is an important name that I will add on along with Stephanie Taylor, because I feel that she has the maturity right now. She is that big face in that team, like how if you like how you say Smriti Mandana in Team India. So definitely, I want to see how Haley Matthews steps up in this knockout match. I don't think so. She has played a knockout game till now in her career. So I feel this is going to be an important opportunity for her to showcase herself and take her team to the finals. I don't want to see a repeat of what we saw in the league stage, where they were bundled out for 130 and Australia came out and chased it off with ease. I don't want that kind of a performance from the West Indies side. I want this match to be more competitive, and I feel that it's on the part of West Indies to step up and perform against Australia, because coming in Australia will be the favorites, and I'm just hoping there is a semi-final standard level of match. And the way the tournament has gone, it's been nail biting. If we make sure that tomorrow's game is also nail biting, it will be really really good.
Though we may want it to be a nail biter, Dhanush and Urvi, but I am sure Chrisania, our Caribbean friend, does not want to be a nail biter. I think she wants West Indies to seal the deal comprehensively against Australia. So, any key matchups that you are looking at, Chrisania? As Dhanush has mentioned about Haley Matthews versus spinners. So, any key matchups that you're looking at?
But it's so difficult to choose matchups when we expect the weather to play such a big part. Because when we looked at what West Indies did against South Africa, it's and almost you can't play the seamers. If they hit their lines and their lengths, it's almost unplayable, and then it does not become, oh, generally this player struggles against such, or that player struggles against such. Who will be able to stand against the ball doing what it did if it does what it did against South Africa? So it would just be important, whoever bats first, if the conditions come into play, just how they go about those first couple of overs. I think a lot will lie, maybe even the result, on how whoever is batting first negotiates the first couple of overs if the weather comes into play.
Of course, and as Chrisania has mentioned about the West Indies South Africa game, we clearly remember that West Indies had reduced South Africa to 22 for 4 in 5.3 overs, and it was a stellar start from the West Indian bowlers. They got some good swing, of course, good pace from the pitch, so it was amazing to see that. And let us see if the Caribbean bowlers are able to do that against Australia tomorrow. All right, so it was great talking to you, Dhanush, Krisania, and Urvi about this exciting contest between Australia and West Indies. It will be the first semi-final of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup. The match will be played tomorrow, that is 30th of March, at the Basin Reserve in Wellington, and it will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So all the fans can catch the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. And we'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. to preview the second semi-final that will be played between South Africa and England. So do join us for a conversation tomorrow at 8 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.